Go live. Okay, all right. So we start here. Padena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopa karoktam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram shankachakra siddharinam sahasra shirisham shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Harihi Om. So, so today we are talking about the Yoga Sutras. So why is Yoga Sutras important? Now, in the 6 systems of philosophy, you come across the different levels of healing. In the 6 systems of philosophy, you come across the different, it's actually how you can know yourself in the 6 systems of philosophy. It's all about understanding the self, if you see. So, Nyaya, right? So there are 6 systems of philosophy. So Nyaya, Vaisheshika, then Yoga, Sankhya, Yoga, and then we have Purvamimamsa and Uttaramimamsa. So if you see the Nyaya, the word itself, trying to understand the world with logic. But how can you understand the world with logic? So that is why you cannot understand the Supreme Lord with logic. Right? So there is an element of devotion in everything where logic fails. For example, you can never understand your wife with logic, right? See, Sohail started smiling. See, the thing is, so that's where logic fails. Right? Why do women get upset? You cannot write a logical book on that. So there are many things in this world you cannot understand with logic. So that is why there is a progression. So then
you have to understand through your heart, isn't it?
Your heart, yes. So, but then my heart, depending on
well, women, you have to understand them through the heart.
Yes.
You're
So
right.
through the
Yes.
heart. So
Not
the
the mind.
thing is, yes. So the thing is, but then depends on your heart situation. If my heart is pure, right, then I can understand feelings. However, if my heart is lusty, just desire for lust, anger, enjoyment, so then it's different proposition altogether. So that is the point, is that it's the heart needs so purification, right? So purification comes with proper philosophy and proper knowledge. So first of all, we have to understand knowledge. So that is why it is said that one should become humble, right? What is the first step of knowledge? One should become humble. One should approach Guru. One should surrender. So in Vaisheshika philosophy also, there is Ayurveda basically is based on Vaisheshika philosophy. And there is also understanding of soul and God. And you can see even in Sankhya, right? There is the understanding of soul. Then in yoga, you come to very close, right? So each one gives you a process. So Nyaya is studying logic. So you should all become logical. You should understand everything through logic. And, you go through that process. Vaisheshika, you practice, as per the philosophy, you understand how everything in this world, there is a karana, right? So like, for example, soap nut, right? So there is soap in soap nut. right? But it's unmanifest. Then you have to make it manifest by a process, right? So you understand things. So for example, if I want to understand how did somebody get a disease, right? If I want to understand that, then I have to go to the root cause. I have to go to the root cause. So that is why it explains the root there. Kapha, Pitta, Vata. It explains the mind. It explains the intelligence. In Ayurveda, it explains all these things. How and where you can find. So then when you take the pulse, you understand, oh, something wrong with the pulse, something wrong with the mind, right? So you can go to the root cause. But again, with all such procedures, you cannot understand the Lord. You cannot understand Krishna. Then you come to the next process. Then you come to the next process. So then these are all evolved in the next level. So we find people at different levels of understanding of God. Then we have Sankhya. So Sankhya comes before yoga in Bhagavad Gita. So you see in Bhagavad Gita, first comes Karma Yoga, then comes Jnana Yoga, then comes Sankhya, then comes Yoga. So Sankhya. So Sankhya is to count. So they accept proof. So what is the proof? Pratyaksha Praman, Anumana Praman, all different types of proof. Right? Proof. And Sankhya is also the field of, in Sankhya you count and you become logical. Again, it's kind of logic. So all the previous ones is applied in the next one. So logic is already there. Or are you the earth? No. Are you the water? No. Are you the air? No. You count all the elements, but what are you? You are the soul. Right? Now, for example, many people studying Ayurveda, they will say, oh, soul gives life. Now, what is the soul? That's a big question. Right? So that explanation needs to be there. So in Sankhya, you slowly go into that. But in yoga, so in Sankhya, it is like Jnana Yoga. So Jnana. So then you slowly come to yoga. Now, there is a very interesting verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is progressing these philosophies in the Bhagavad Gita. Right? So Krishna says, Sankhya Yogo Pratag Balaha. Let me read out that verse. Sankhya Yogo Pratag Balaha. It's a very beautiful verse. So he says, Sankhya Yogo Pratag Balaha Pravadanti na Panditaha Ekamapi Astita Samyak Ubhayor Vindate Phalam. Only the ignorant speak of Karma Yoga and devotional service as Karma Yoga, devotional service, as being different from the analytical study of the material world. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. So that is why Prabhupada said that, one second. So that he said that one who is in devotion, he understands all the previous philosophies. So one who understands devotion. So that is why Prabhupada said, but then you have to be mature in your devotion. You should be mature in bhakti. Okay. So then you go back. So then see, Karma Yoga, is it complete in itself? No. Sankhya Yoga, is it complete in itself? In the understanding, no. But it is a process. It still gives purification. It still gives realization of the soul. But what gives you complete realization of the soul? So then the process of yoga. So the process of yoga is actually process of, can anybody tell me what is yoga, the process of? What are the two words to describe the yoga process? When Arjuna says, I'll give you the clue in the 6th chapter. Oh Krishna, this is very difficult for me. So what does Krishna say? Tell Arjuna.
Yoga is control of the mind.
Yes, control of the mind. Yes, but how do you control the mind?
To surrender to Krishna?
Surrender, yes, but surrender how? Yes, I surrender. Like today, I know I have to surrender. All right, let me check my Uber Eats discount. How do you surrender? Offering all the work to Krishna. Okay, how? Oh, yes, but what is the word for it? Yes, agree with that. To be detached, yes. So one process is detach, but is detachment the ultimate? What is the other one? Your duty, huh?
Detached and
Do your duty.
your duty.
Yes, Abhyasa and Vairagya, that is the process. Practice and detachment. Yoga is about practice. Sankhya is about philosophy. Sankhya is about philosophy. Yoga is about action. Right? In Sankhya, you kind of negate everything by knowledge. Right? Now, you can, Shankaracharya says, if you develop a strong desire to enjoy, the other person's body, so just think the body is made up of blood, stool, urine, this, that. You apply all this logic and we look at the other person, it is just blood, stool, urine. But how much will you do that? So the thing is, you cannot be just be in jnana. Jnana does produce vairagya. But then with that vairagya, after that it becomes a dry. Prabhupada says, it becomes a dry. You need action. So yoga gives you the practice. Yoga is 99% practice. Now in this practice, there is Ashtanga. Okay. So, but as you practice, what happens now? This is, you can say, in Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and Sankhya. So these are all Brahmavadis. So they worship the Brahman. God is Brahman. Right? What is God? God is a formless, amazing. He's everywhere. He's everything. He is this, he is that. Then Buddha came along. He said, God is zero. When I used to attend my astrology teacher's class, it's like, God is one big zero. It's like, okay, you are one. God is zero. You are one. So Brahman. So the beginning understanding is Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnana madvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sabdate. So gradually these philosophies are leading you to Bhagavan, Krishna. But in the first stage, when you apply the philosophy of Nyaya, they are all no doubt great sages. So we have to understand where yoga fits in. And the second thing we have to understand is that Patanjali did not just write these sutras from somewhere. See, earlier Veda was one. Why did Patanjali have to write it? Veda was one. Veda was one means Ayurveda, yoga, this, that, everything is in one single practice. They are not different. Okay. Ultimately, people used to practice samadhi, meditation. So this was all woven into one practice. So people knew how to eat, people knew how to practice yoga, meditation, everything was already there. But then what happens in Kali Yuga is that the level of Brahmana, the level of training, these are all lost. So then the evolution of yoga, see, because for example, if you look at Gayatri, before you chant Gayatri, Pranayama Vini Yoga, right? When I was given the thread, sacred thread at the age of 12, I guess. So one Pandit used to come and teach me how to do Rig Veda Sandhya Vandanam every day morning. He used to come to my house and I used to chant all these mantras and wear the thread and do my Gayatri. But before that, Om Bhuhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Swaha, Om Janaha, and after all this, he will say, Pranayama, Vini Yoga, you hold the breath. So by mantra, so what is the benefit of pranayama? So later on, when I read the Bhagavad Gita, that's when I understood what is the benefit of pranayama? Purification of your mind. Purification of the mind. So what happens is pranayama, prana, it's not just air. Okay, it's not just air. Air is converted into prana. So this prana is in your channels, right? So desire comes from pranic activation. So when I have a desire, strong desire, what happens? It pushes. For example, when you desire, when you see something, right? For example, you look at a beautiful cake. I don't know how many of you like a cake, but I'm just giving an example. You look at a cake, and you're like mouth watering, like you're waiting, happy birthday, and then you see the cake being splashed on his face. Oh my God, what a waste. You're like, oh my God, your senses are going, crazy, right? So you feel that prana, like the feelings going up and down. So prana, So what happens, this prana, so prana is a mix. So there is the mind, so the sound, right? So now understand this in Ayurveda. Ether, right? Akashad Vayu, ether. First comes ether. Ether is sound. What is there in ether? Sound. And then comes air. Air is friction. Right? From friction, from air. Air comes fire. Akashad Vayu, Vayor Agnihe, Agner Apaha. When you cool down the water cool down the fire comes water. And then comes Abhyah Prativi. When you combine all of that comes earth. So in your body also there is Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So Vata means combination of space and air. Then Pitta, combination of fire and water. And Kapha is combination of water and earth. So you see, grosser. So prana is the subtlest manifestation. So that's where all the thought begins. So, but where does it originate? Before even the subtle elements, the mind. So that is why Krishna says, Bhumi Rapanolavayu Kambano Buddhirevacha Ahankaramiti Yamme Bhinna Prakriti Rashtrada. So the subtle elements, so you can imagine, space is so subtle, sound is so subtle, subtler than that is the mind. So that where the inner sound comes, your mind is always talking. Right? Tomorrow, we will go to holiday. In, out, right? We'll eat this, we'll buy this. You're always planning mind based on the mind is showing this experience, that experience. You are like planning, we'll eat this, we'll do that, right? So the mind is constantly talking. So attachments of the mind. So your physical nature, your mental nature, they are continuously interacting from all the previous experiences. So this is called the turnings of the mind. And at one point, this goes crazy, right? You have too much, right? Like a drunkard. One bottle is okay. Okay, I have no experience. I'm just saying, okay. Second bottle, you go, half crazy. Third bottle, you're full crazy. Then you're like, okay, no, if I drink anymore, then I cannot even walk, right? So when this thought process, right, with all this background, you have to understand that Patanjali, he begins this Yoga Sutra. At a point, he says, Atha yoganushasanam. Now, interestingly, Prabhupada used to always say, when these hippies used to come for chanting and everything, Prabhupada said, I wanted Krishna to send me first class people. Krishna sent me fifth class people, these hippies. And the point is, one who is ready. So they were ready negatively. Negatively means the point where you come. So Yoga Sutras begin like this. The point where you come to study, it's like, I am fed up with this material world. I'm ready for anything. So they reached from a negative perspective. Negative perspective means frustration after enjoying, drugs, whatever, all these things to the maximum extent. And then you cannot do it anymore. Then you realize that's it. I cannot exploit the body anymore. There's no more enjoyment in this. It's squeezed, right? You take drugs, right? Like when I was in my college, first time I saw what it meant like taking drugs. I was entering my hostel, and there is a big, what do you call it, drain, right? For water to go, big drain just outside the hostel. And I found one of my friends early morning there. So I was like, oh my God, it's all like dirty and this and that. So many people told me he's a chronic druggie. So he just fell into the drain previous night. Nobody even bothered. Next morning he wakes up. I was like, okay. Another crazy thing we saw, I saw like all our friends were all drunk previous night, and next day morning everybody went to blood donation, and everybody's laughing on top of it. So you can see, but one has to reach a point of frustration after doing all your crazy things, or like Krishna says, there are 4 kinds of people who come: artho, artharthi, jijnasu, jnani. Or you should come to that Atha Yoga Anushasanam, Yoga Sutra. He begins the first sutra. He says, you come when you are ready. When you are ready means you have practiced the previous philosophy. You are honest. You are pure, right? You are almost sinless. You come to this point where you are trying to grow spiritually. I have that desire, right? Atha yoga anushasanam. So yoga means, what is the first definition of yoga? Is discipline, right? Without discipline, there is no question of yoga. So anybody who says, like I was asking my teacher, like, after I perfect my asanas, then I can eat anything, right? He was like, that's like you are going against the purpose, because yoga means to eat less, sleep less, right? Like Bhakti Vikas Maharaj was saying in one class, he said, yoga is not to just pass good stool and urine. Yoga means to stop passing stool and urine. That was a very profound statement. If you think about it, is that you overcome all the necessities of life. One of the things that I have seen many people change because of, I have so many clients, and many of them, they eat just 1 meal a day. And even I am inspired because my wife cooks nice, so it's very difficult, but yet I'm trying to keep it to 1 meal a day. The part is like, anytime you eat something, it raises your insulin. And if you look at most of the problems of today's is overeating, eating multiple times with such a long range. We eat till we sleep, right? So if you limit it to within a certain time, or one full meal, you're done. Oh my God, it is such an evolution. So that discipline, now what happens? So discipline is to clear your mind. Discipline is not just physically, okay, I've done discipline, but I'm always thinking, okay, I'm supposed to eat only 1 time. Oh, but I'm hungry. I feel like tempted. I am eating. If these thoughts are there in your mind all the time, then the discipline is not done halfway. What is the purpose of discipline? To clear the mind space, so that you can think of higher things. For example, I had this habit of watching a cricket match and then reading in my school days. Like watch some sports and then start reading. You can't do that, right? That's a very bad habit. Your mind can do one thing at a time. You need to focus your energy at one point, right? So what is that called? Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kuru nandana bahushaka hi anantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. Then what happens? You are half there, half here. Then nothing has gone clearly because your mind space, because your thought has to digest, right? It's a mix of two things. Right? It's a mix of many things. So everything gets intertwined because when the memory, it enters you, it has to enter purely, sit there. And when you go back to retrieve that memory, when you think about it, it has to be so clear that you're able to retrieve it very quickly. Whereas when you mix these so many things, what happens? Your memory is also twisted. The space is occupied by unnecessary stuff. So discipline, the goal of discipline, Atha yoganushasanam yogas chitta vratti nirodha. Okay, this is what I said. The second sutra, he says, Atha yoganushasanam, discipline. Then he says, chitta vratti nirodha. So chitta is subtle body. Subtle body. What is our subtle body? Mind, intelligence, ego. Where is it? I explained earlier. It is in the region of the heart. Right? When you break up with your girlfriend, what do you show? Broken heart, correct? I don't show broken kidneys or liver, right? Because that's where your feelings are, right? Your feelings are not here. Oh my God, I love you. My stomach is boiling, right? That's not, my heart is, right? You have to stay with your heart. By the way, in my second grade, my teacher told me once poem. Sometimes I go logical and I lose my thought process. I don't know why this happens to me. Everything shuts down. My teacher said, learn this poem by heart. Suddenly it struck me. By heart. You have to just memorize it. But she said by heart. In India, we use the term by heart, not memorize. I was like, by heart. I was trying to logically understand what is by heart. So all these things led me to understand so many things in the future, logical thinking. But sometimes you cannot apply logic. It's just pure memorization. So memory is a function of the mind plus the physical outlet, that is the brain. So it's a combination of both. It's a subtle and gross. Yogas chitta vratti nirodha. So chitta vratti nirodha. So nirodha is means nirodha means to stop. So what is vratti? Vratti is a wave. Vratti is a wave. For example, let me make cake. Okay. So what do I need? So sometimes when my wife makes the cake, I said, please avoid making cake because cake, oh my God. Then first you got to mix it and then you have to, then you have to bake it and then you have to put the icing, and icing, like she uses pure butter, like high quality. And then the thing that she uses, that steel, it's like getting sticky. The worst part is to wash it. It's too sticky, right? But then you have to offer the cake, then we don't finish it all, So what I'm trying to say is, it's like cake. We never buy from outside. So it's like, if you buy from outside, like in an average American, the amount of time he spends up cleaning after food is 15 minutes, because all you do is get a ready-made thing. You just, rice like in a bag or something, and then you put it in the microwave or you put it in the oven and then eat it. After that, you just fold it and throw it, right? But who is going to cook, clean, all these things, right? So that, if you see, it's a wave. So once you do something right or wrong in your life, one incident leads to the other. Correct? One incident leads to the other. Suppose you become a millionaire. I'm hoping, right? Not with cryptocurrency. So when you become a millionaire, so then what happens? It leads to a series of events. For some people good, some people bad. Some people made so much money and then boom, right? Some people made so much money and they went on to make so much service and everything. So everything that happens in our life, it triggers a series of events. So that is called as a wave. So that wave is called vritti. So yoga means to reduce these vrittis, bad vrittis. Now that doesn't mean you don't have. So there is a difference between abhyasa and vritti. Abhyasa is a good practice. Vritti is just a bad habit or a series of events because of one bad thing. Just like I overeat. Oh, then I don't sleep well, then I don't exercise well, right? It's a domino effect, you see. So vritti is like that. You throw a stone in water, it creates a wave, a series of waves. So Patanjali says in the Yoga Sutras that the process of yoga is to stop that and discipline, right? Atha yoganushasana and discipline, so that you contain the vrittis. Right? Now, for example, you don't feel like chanting today or doing meditation. You feel like, oh, it's horrible. I'm like so depressed, like, oh, you know what, on top of it, I saw Biden today, day is so bad, you can say stuff like that. But then when you do it, so that is what is discipline. No matter what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do my practice, right? So that is discipline. And then when you do it and then you actually feel better, you're like, wow, I did it. So then you keep doing it. So I read a paper that you should put some, like when cricketers or sports stars, when they are performing, even in the Olympics, they're like, when there is encouragement, okay, so when there is encouragement, they do 10 times better, right? So I put some inspiring songs, kirtans or music, to keep yourself, so that the mind doesn't overflow with the talk. Atha yoganushāsanam yogaschittavatti nirodha tada drashtu swarupeva sthanam. So if you discipline yourself, then you are able to realize the higher self. So life is all about discipline. I feel good, I feel bad, all these things are there. But then you stick to a routine like a clockwork, but then not overstressing yourself, but doing it properly. Like in Hindi, we call mota moti. Mota moti means like, okay, this time we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this. I don't want to overeat. So you plan your meal in such a way. So sometimes, like for example, I have a certain class. So then I can eat either before or after, but I have to eat. So I have to run around with my timing. But then if I miss, sometimes because of the kids, we cook late, this and that. If I keep on getting upset, right? So you should be a little flexible, but you maintain the overall, practice. So if we understand the practice, so then what happens? You are able to understand the higher self. When you don't waste time, when this vritti doesn't take up most of your time. Otherwise, you overate, then drank hot water, then you did this, then you did that, then you're only trying to digest the food, right? Your half your time is your what do you call that? Utility is lost in that. However, if you're disciplined, okay, now I'm eating, now I've eaten, I've done. I don't even think of eating anymore. Right? But now I don't eat, but then keep on thinking of eating, then what's the point? The goal should be achieved. So what happens is, when you free up, when you discipline and free up your mind, you can think of higher things. So discipline is very important. Vritti sarupya mitaratra. So if you're not disciplined, what happens? The mind carries you. The mind wave carries you. What are you thinking of? You identify with the mind. Right now I'm hungry. So when I'm talking about soul, I'm only thinking in my head, oh, nice pakoda, nice pizza, right? If I'm thinking of it all the time and I'm giving a lecture on the soul, right? I'm not really feeling. So for example, if your hunger is, one devotee used to say, whenever he woke up, he said, Ekadashi, as soon as I wake up, I feel hungry. because he's scared. His fear, right? He's a fear. Oh, today I have to fast. Today I won't get rice dal sabji. Oh my God! Like it sets off such a reaction. He says that when I sit to chant itself, I become so stressed because I can't eat. So then he goes and eats some sweet or this or that. Over stressing, overthinking. So then what happens? That creates a kashaya. Your mind becomes polluted. So that is why by discipline, we need to control the mind, calm the mind, heal the mind. What am I saying? Yeah. Tada drashtu surupe vastanam vritti sarupyam itaratra vrittayah panchatayah klishtaha. So what are the 5 types of thoughts? Pramana, viparya, vikalpanidra, smritayah. We already discussed this, right? So I'll just summarize. So I said the 5 characteristics of intelligence, or the 5 types of thoughts. Pramana, thoughts with evidence. So he explains what is the pramana. Pramana, pratyaksha anugama pramanani, pratyaksha anumana agama pramanani. So pratyaksha, what you see, what you estimate, and scripture, pratyaksha anumana agama pramanani. And then viparyaya. So viparyaya means false knowledge. So if you do not have proper understanding of things in this world, then what happens? You misunderstand. Right? So we said your intelligence you should always ask questions. You should never assume things. You should always understand things from the point of view of the scripture. But not everything is in the scripture. Many of the things are smriti. Many of the things are from experience. So you have to, that is also an evidence. So manusmriti, like Chandrayana fast. I tried to find reference. It's all in manusmriti. So manusmriti, there is a series of explanations of how Chandrayana works. So it's all in manusmriti. So from the Acharya's experience, pratyaksha anumana agamaha. So then if you understand things rightly, then there is nothing to go wrong, right? Pratyaksha, so then pramana viparyaya. So if you don't have right knowledge, what happens? You are always in misunderstanding, right? So that should not be our situation. We should become very intelligent. Pratyaksha, pramana viparya, vikalpa, imagination. So that is another state of mind. We are always imagining, right? We are married, we are happy, right? We always imagine. But then after marriage, we realize that is just an imagination, right? It's not true. No, it's true. So everything comes with its pain and happiness. So imagination. So imagination can be proper or imagination can be wrong. But most people, see, for example, if you eat some bad food, then your imagination is bad. If you eat some good food. So intelligence also depends on your diet. Intelligence also depends on the next thing, that is sleep. It says good intelligence. Another state of mind is dream. In dream, your mind is still active. But if you get a dreamless sleep, that means your mind has rested. So he says that if your mind is rested during the sleep, so that is why before you sleep, you don't just take on stress. If you keep on stressing the mind till the point you sleep, right, then what happens? Your mind is very active. It hasn't gotten rest. So morning when you wake up, you're like all lost, right? Because the mind did not sleep enough. So brahmana viparya vikalpa nidra smratayaha, right? So the 5th Yoga Sutra is smrataya. So smrataya, the 5th state of mind is memory. So this memory, what we see, is a very important. So memory depends on. So what does memory depend on? So memory depends on your 3 things: food, celibacy, sleep. Right? if your diet is you take Brahmi, Ashwagandha, all these things, then it really helps you gain good memory. And if you do not follow a disciplined life, then what happens? You do not get the benefit. So, okay. So here I got the Yoga Sutras. So after the Anubhuta Vishaya Sambhava, so also memory, he defines also as previous experiences, right? So after you eat something, like there was a cat, Tenali Rama had a cat. So the king said, I want to find a cat that doesn't drink milk. Cats love milk. He said, give me 5 days. So then what happened? So Tenali Rama, exactly at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, he would keep like beautiful milk, fresh milk for the cat. So the cat would come drink the milk, go every day. Cat would come drink the milk, go. Then what happened? On the 5th day, he boiled the milk to super hot. So then he called exactly the time the cat put the tongue into the milk and burnt its tongue. So then what happened? So then he took the cat to the king. He said, this is a cat that doesn't like milk. And as soon as he kept fresh milk there, the cat ran away. He said, wow. Why? Because of the previous experience. So this experience is also memory. So then Patanjali says that one should use the memory in a proper way. One should not commit those same mistakes, but to develop a tendency not to commit mistakes, right? So you have to develop discipline. So it all goes back to discipline. So if you discipline, then all these thoughts are controlled. Not that you stop these thoughts. You cannot stop memory. Correct? You cannot stop memory. You cannot stop studying Shastra. It's all a part. But Vritti Nirodha means I don't indulge in the negative aspects of these thoughts. So these thoughts are redirected in a proper manner. That's the point he's trying to say here. All right, any questions, Rupa, so far?
No, I did want to actually ask, you know, when you were talking about the Bhagavad Gita and the process of the yoga, is it the yoga? What was the order? What was the order of it?
The yogas. Well, first is Karma Yoga.
Okay, hold on a minute. Okay.
Karma Yoga. Second is Jnana Yoga. 4th chapter begins with Karma Yoga, right? 3rd and 4th chapter. So then he begins Jnana Yoga, because karma leads to knowledge. Karma Yoga leads to knowledge. And then Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga leads to Vairagya. So that leads to Dhyana. So yoga is actually asana, yogasana. It's all Vairagya. It's a part of action. So action for detachment. So that is Dhyana Yoga, and finally comes Bhakti Yoga. You can say Jnana, Karma, then comes Jnana. Jnana Yoga is also Sankhya. Sankhya, then Dhyana Yoga, and then comes Bhakti. So that's how it progresses up to 6th chapter. So 7th chapter is Bhakti. So 7th chapter onwards, it's continuously Bhakti till the 12th chapter. Then he comes back to Jnana Yoga from 13 to 18. Okay. All right. So now how to control these 5 types of thoughts we have already discussed. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tan nirodha. Coming back to this point. He says, how do you control these 5 thoughts? He says, Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tan nirodha. By practice and detachment. We talked earlier. Now he defines, this is the most beautiful thing I found. What is the tatra sthitau yatna abhyasaha? What is the definition of practice? Tatra sthitau yatna abhyasaha. So tatra sthitau yatna abhyasaha. Systematic, goal-oriented practice is called abhyasa. Right? So you have to know your goal. When I'm doing asana, bend forward, down. Not like that. Right? We say, squeeze the lower abdomen, stretch the hamstring, pivot from the hip joint, bend forward, hands next to the feet, right? All these procedures. So goal-oriented, systematic, and not just one day till you reach the goal. Now I have to perfect. I have to take my belly in. I have to. So that is called as abhyasa. Now he says, this is my most beautiful sutra. Who becomes good at practice? He says, Satu dirgha kala nairantarya satkara sevita drada bhumihi. One who practices for a long time, systematically, continuously, satkara sevita. So satkara sevita means one who understands what he is practicing. Right? Drada bhumi, he becomes firm in his practice, who understands. So your understanding is important, your discipline is important, your practice is important. Then he defines Vairagya. Drashta anusravika vitrishnasya vashikara samjna vairagyam. What a definition. He says, what is detachment? To the ability to control the urge or the ability to control the indulgence or the desire for indulgence on objects which are seen and heard. Let's go to Vegas, You can drink beer on the street, right? People are walking with a big cup. I see like a lot of teenagers, such a big cup, like a cocktail, and they are like walking around. So that's the best thing they like, walking on the street with that big cup with a straw in it, like, like a Molotov cocktail. They like it. So when you hear, oh, you go there is so much fun. Then people also hear, same thing with the Vedas. Oh, if you go to Swargaloka, Apsaras, wow, so much fun. If you go to this loka, oh, so much fun. So everybody is thinking of the fun, right? Like my daughter always says, Papa, I want to go somewhere fun. I said, let's go to Walmart. No, that's not fun. You need fun, right? So when you hear something, oh, we go to bouncy house. Oh, that's fun, right? So that's how we are. So when we hear something is fun, that we may not know the exact details, but when you understand something for fun, and then we are like, okay, let's explore it. But Vairagya is the exact opposite. When you hear things, when you see things, oh my Lord, this is going to bring me down. This is not going to help me. But sometimes it's okay. You can go to a picnic, you can take a bath in a river, you can do all these activities, but then you don't indulge in meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, gambling. Right? These are the things that you should do. So Vairagya. So Vairagya means you do things for the healing of the body and mind, to keep your equilibrium in the physical and mental status. So that is what one should do. That is Vairagya. Vairagya means I don't grossly enjoy. I don't just take part in, oh, if I go there. Some people learn just by hearing, they don't want. Some people learn by experience, and some, even after experience, they don't learn. So, tatparam purusha khyate guna vaitrishnam. So when you have regulated your life, when you have disciplined your life, so then what happens? Tat param purusha khyate hai. When your mind is sufficiently having enough space for higher spiritual thought, then what happens? Purusha khyate hai. You are able to understand the soul. Purusha khyate hai. It's beautiful. It says the mind space can be used for higher spiritual understanding. So relax, keep your mind space relaxed, right? Free. Indulge in senses which are appropriate. Control your eating, control your diet, control your sleep. When you do all this with a disciplined way, what happens? Everything is controlled. So you have no fear of disease, no fear of losing your mind. Even if your challenge comes, you are ready to face it. So then when you are asked to do higher meditation, study, oh yeah, you are ready. Right? So it makes your body and mind very focused. Vitarka, vichara, ananda asmita, rupanugama sampradnyataha. So now Patanjali is assuming that you have already practiced yoga, you have already disciplined. So he explains the qualities of 4 levels of samadhi. The 4 levels of samadhi. Okay? Vitarka. Vitarka. Whenever I sit to meditate, oh, my trousers have not been washed. So as soon as you sit to meditate, you remember, I want to wash. But can I wait an hour? No. When you sit to meditate, the mind is like, boom, you have not done this. When you sit to chant, you are like, oh, right? So vitarka means no matter what, now let the pant be there. I will do it afterwards. So vitarka, you are able to completely, all the tarka of the mind gone. Vichara. Vichara means higher understanding. Right? So in yoga, what happens is, first I'm looking at you at the gross level. But as a yogi masters his meditation, when I look at you, for example, when I wear a night vision goggles, I see like a energy. So a yogi who is practiced, when he looks at you, he's looking at the energy. When he looks at you, he's like he's kapha pitta vata. Yogi also gets astrological, thought processes, vibes. So this is called vichara, means the higher energy levels of the yourself, of the universe, you are able to understand. Vitarka, vichara, ananda. So the third level, now this is very interesting. I had to do some research to find this. What is ananda? What is the third level of samadhi? So vitarka means you are still with the gross body. So your body is now, like I don't want to do any action. So that is the gross body. That is vitarka. Vichara means now action with the subtle body. Now ananda. Now ananda means mind. According to the Bhagavatam, mind is created from the mode of goodness. And the nature of the mind is to be in ananda, to happy. Now there are 2 things that are happening. When I am looking at something, there is the object and there is the mind. Right? So when I look at something, the mind is reflecting the object. Correct? Tell me if you feel it is complicated. I'm trying to make it easy. But then what happens is, now I'm looking at this book, for example. I'm looking at this book. The mind is looking at the book. So mind is reflecting the book. So what happens all the time, the mind is, if I want to concentrate, say I want to concentrate. So first I choose an object. Okay, now here comes ananda. First I choose an object. So vitarka. So I withdraw from all this blah, blah, blah. Okay, so mind is clear. Second is vichara. Now I select some subtle object, right? Internal. For example, I do a trataka. I meditation on the lamp. After some time, after looking at the lamp for like an hour, for example, I close my eyes, I see the same light. Now I don't need the external physical lamp. I'm meditating within myself. Okay. After some time, what happens? I don't even need the lamp. I am able to, the mind is concentrating. The concentration comes on the mind itself. The mind perceives itself. It doesn't need an object. In the beginning, the mind has so many objects, so many thoughts. Now you have controlled that. Now you have subtle thoughts. Now you have controlled that. Now finally, you bring the mind to focus on itself. Interesting. So when the mind is able to clear out everything and focus on the self, the mind experiences its origin. What is its origin? Mode of goodness. That is called Ananda. When I saw that mind is created from mode of goodness, I was shocked. Oh my God, really? So when you clear your mind, you feel the mind is your best friend. Your mind gives you amazing thoughts. Now, for example, if your mind is criminal, it is surrounded by lust, anger, greed, all kinds of thought the mind gives is all about exploitation. But the same mind, when completely cleared, it is completely within itself. It thinks of higher things. It is thinking at a very subtle platform. For example, I was doing this, what is this asana? Our Virabhadrasana. So I was opening the chest. I said, open the chest, open the chest. As I was doing that, and I was really focusing on the breath and focusing on the heart, focusing on the mind, immediately, there was somebody who had done something very bad to me a few years ago. And I was like holding it for such a long time. For the first time, when I was doing that, I was so relaxed. Suddenly, I felt like, boom, from my heart that went away. I said, he is not even worth being an opponent. You have to do far higher things. So mind takes you to a next level. I was like, wow, I actually got that feeling. And then I could forget that person altogether. You achieve a much higher level of occupation. The things that the mind can imagine, the things that the mind can self-achieve, oh, it's mind-blowing. Right? Oh yeah, it's mind-blowing, right? I didn't think of the word mind-blowing, but if I think of it, that's what is called mind-blowing. The capacity of the mind is amazing. And they say you use 2% of your brain and this and that, you can do much more. It actually depends on the mind. It's not just brain power. So the yogi, when he concentrates on the mind, Ananda, he's self-satisfied. I mean, he does so many amazing things, discoveries. Asmita rupanugamat sampradnyataha. So then he understands the rupa of the soul, the real nature of the soul. It's a very deep sutra. Virama pratyaya abhyasa purva samskara shesha anyaha. So when you begin the yoga practice, virama pratyaya. So virama pratyaya means to begin your practice, you need virama. Means I should stop sinning. I should stop making the vrattis. He says even the demigods, when they begin their meditation, it's like, okay, now by the power of meditation, I can clear my mind. I should not do the same thing that made my mind dirty. I should not repeat the same thing. That's an offense. Correct? If eating pizza caused me heaviness, and then I take some medicine, I feel better, then again eat pizza because now I feel better. Like, doesn't make sense. Huh? So you should do the right thing. Right?
Can I ask what page that was on?
The Sutras?
Yeah.
First chapter, 18th verse.
First chapter, 10th verse.
Text, 18th verse.
Sorry, 18th.
18th, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just referring it on my phone.
Yeah.
So the sutras I'm reading out. I mean, each sutra you can explain for hours. Huh? I'm just giving you a summary. It took me like 3 months just to read, research all different books and get all this data. What is he referring to? Vitarka, Vichara, Ananda, Asmita. Asmita is ego. Rupanugama. So after the mind comes ego. So the thing is, Samadhi is first gross objects, then subtle objects, then mind, then ego. Then what happens? None of these material objects can see the soul. So then what happens? Boom. The soul has to raise itself. So that's where he says, in Patanjali, he says, once you come to the level of ego, then the only way you go to the next level where the soul is revealed to you is when you surrender. And that is why after this, he says, Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, one should practice with Shraddha, faith, Virya, that is vigor, Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, with lot of memory, Tivra Samvekanam Asannaha. And for who this becomes easy? For one who is an intense practitioner. So he explains 3 levels of practitioners: Mriddu, Madhya, Adimatra. What's soft, medium, intense, right? But then he says, Ishvara Pranidhanat Va. So when you practice surrendering to Ishvara, this is my most beautiful words. Ishvara Pranidhanat Va is not a option. If you want to realize the soul, he says, Ishvara. Ishvara means controller. You have to surrender. Ishvara Pranidhanatva. Why? Why? Klesha karma vipaka shaihi aparam rashtaha purusha visheshaha ishvaraha. He is a very special soul in whom there is no klesha, there is no karma, there is no fructification of karma. He is spiritual in nature, body, mind, activities. Purusha Visheshaha Ishvaraha. And he says, Tatra Niratishayam Sarvajna Bijam. If you are feeling bored, let me know, I'll tell a joke. So then he says, he is the seed of all knowledge of everything within the universe. He is the seed. Sa Purveshamapi Guru Kala Anavachedat. So he says, he is the guru of all. He is the origin of all. Who is saying this? Patanjali. Tasya vachakah pranavaha. His name is Omkara. So that is why the yogis chant the Om. Tajapas tadartha bhavanam. Chant the name of the Lord. Tadartha bhavanam. Understanding your relationship with him. So when you chant Om, it is a loving relationship with him, right? One who is a, so there are different commentaries on this sutra, on this sutra. So there Vijnana Bhikshu is a Vaishnava, and he says, this is explained, Uma, Krishna, Radha, and the devotees, right? So if you understand Om, it's actually Radha and Krishna. Tattah pratyak chetana. Tattah pratyak chetana adigama antaraya abhavascha. Amazing verse. He says the chanting the names of the Lord will overcome all the obstacles in your heart. Who is saying this? Patanjali. Tatah pratyak chetana Chetana, pratyak chetana, your consciousness, all the roadblocks to your consciousness, realization of consciousness are opened up by the chanting of the name. So yoga, so chanting of the names of the Lord is a powerful yoga. He hasn't mentioned asana, pranayama or anything. He says the highest state of samadhi can be attained by chanting the names of the Lord. Dukkha dormanasya, dukkha dormanasya, Manasya Angamejayatva Shwasanuprasha Chitta Vikshepaha Saha Bhuvaha. No, he says then Vyadhisthana Samshaya Pramada Alasya Avirati Bhranti Darshana Alabdha Bhumikatva Anavastitavani Chitta Vikshepa Antarayaha, because your consciousness has the following challenges. So what are the challenges to self-realization? Vyadi, disease. Sthana, laziness. Samshaya, doubt. Pramada, madness. alasya, laziness, avirati, that is a false perception, Bhranti, madness, Alabdha Bhumikatva, not being grounded, not concentrating, Anavastitavani, you don't even understand what you are doing. So these are the problems. He says, Dukkha Dormanasya, on top of it, when you are suffering from pain, bad mind, bad mood, Angamejayatva, heavy breathing, Shwasa Prashwasa, when you are not breathing properly, he says, Vikshepaha Sahabhuvaha, all these obstruct your consciousness. So the first step of yoga, Ayurveda, so that is why in all the previous steps, before you come to bhakti, if you understand the 6 systems of philosophy, one has overcome all the negative bad karma that can pollute his consciousness. One has to be very, very pious. One has to be, because disease is also a result of impiety. One has to become pious. One has to become very well situated. One has to become systematic. One has to become very disciplined, right? It's so beautiful. All this builds up to chanting the holy name. And who is saying this? Patanjali. Then he says, how to maintain social relationships. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekshanam, Sukha, Dukkha, Punya, Punya, Vishayanam, Bhavanata, Chitta Prasadanam. So in the society, you will find 4 kinds of people. So he says, what you should do to keep your mind happy? Maitri, become friends with those who are spiritually advanced. So one who is spiritually advanced means one who is not envious, right? Because you may have so many friends, but they'll be very envious. I look at that guy, he's gone to Smoky Mountains and he's eating and he's making marshmallows and he's eating it. I'm like, oh my God, right? Then you kind of curse that fellow. Oh, I have to watch this on Facebook and so many people are liking it. You know, I'm like, oh, I couldn't go there and this and that, right? So he may be your friend, he may be on Facebook, but he's always casting a negative eye. So Maitri, not all friends are good. So that is why in Bhagavad Gita, there are, right? Suhradam Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna says, I am the Suhrad, I am closest to the heart. So there are 3 categories of friends. Mitra, Adhimitra, and Suhrada. Mitra means good friend. Hi, how are you? Adhimitra, very close. But the third is Suhrada, one who is closest to your heart. So, but make friends with spiritually advanced, those who are non-envious, those who are thinking how to help you, how to make you feel better. And when they see you happy, they are happy. That is a real friend. Maitri, Karuna, be compassionate. Be compassionate, Karuna. Be compassionate or one who is suffering. Mudita, Punya, those who are pious, but not yet devotees or not yet yogis. They are pious, good people, donors. Build good relation with them. Don't try to be overly close. Then those who are bad people, what do? Unfriend on Facebook, right? Don't even look at that. Don't even think about it. Because the moment you think, it starts a vritti. Don't even think. Then he says, Prachardana Vidarana Bhyamba Pranasya, another way to control the mind. This is a little mechanical, but it's with the Bija Mantras Pranayama. So that's what we have been doing, the meditation. That is one way of controlling the mind. Vishayavativa pravritti utpanna manasah sthiti badnani. So what happens is, when one thought becomes prominent, all the other thoughts become small. So develop a good habit, a set of good habits. So then whatever happens, you are busy. Vitaraga Vishayam va chittam. So make your mind meditate on a person or an object that is free from attachment and envy. For example, I meditate on Acharya. Right? So what happens? When I meditate, I get those qualities of the Acharya. I think about that Acharya. I want to be like Krishna Acharya. I want to serve Prabhupada. I want to serve, higher things. So he says, think about great personalities who are free from. That's how you occupy your mind. When you see I am facing so much difficulties, this guy did this guy did this. No Acharya went easy route. Even Ramanujacharya went through a difficult route. Think of their struggles. Think of their life, how they did. So then he says, Swapna Nidra Jnana Alambanam Va. Another way is dreamless sleep. So when your mind is pure, even in your dreams you can use. So sleeping is also like for example, in Jagannath temple, whenever there is a problem, the Puri main priest, he sleeps in the sanctum sanctum, the main temple room of Jagannath, and in his dream, the Lord comes. So his mind should be pure for the Lord to appear. So sleeping is also a form of rejuvenation, knowledge. But that is for a yogi, one who is eating, drinking, sleeping, overeating, oversleeping, that's not sattvic. So every activity can be yogaized, Krishnaized. Paramanu paramatvanosya vashikaraha. So in this way, a yogi can control himself from the atom to the whole body, from beginning at the level of cellular level, your digestion, energy, from the cellular level, microcosm to the macrocosm, a yogi can control himself. So then what happens? In this way, gradually, all his negative habits, they reduce to almost nil. By constant good practice, his negative habits almost become powerless. The main fear that we have is our old habits. They may come back with double the power. But if you continue to the point where they give up, Tatra Shabdartha Jnana Vikalpa Sankirana Savitarka Samadhi. So now he's explaining I told the Vitarka, Vichara, like the Samadhis, right? So then in the end, he gives an explanation. So what is Savitarka? Tatra Shabdartha Jnana. So many a times an object is different from its real substance. For example, we can say McDonald's, right? They say happy burger, happy meal, right? But if you meet that meal, what happens? You go to hell. Correct? So they don't say go straight to hell right here from your table, right? They won't advertise like that. But they say happy meal. But you see right behind you, what is it written? Go to hell, right? A devotee can see that. So he will say, no, sir, no burger. We'll eat vegan burger. But that is also plastic, right? So that is also not good. So you will make your own burger, offer it to Krishna. See, now you are going to the spiritual world, right? So the thing is, you are able to understand what is that, So some words, champion, wow, they make us like everything actor. I am the champion, right? But then you realize at the time of death or something goes wrong in your life. So then what happens? You, at the time of death or something, nobody can protect you. So all your champion is. So Sabdartha Jnana. So when you understand the name, form, designations in this world are arbitrary, it makes no sense. Sankirna Savitarka Samapatti. So that is Savitarka Samapatti. So when you become free from that, when your mind is now focusing on the higher aspect, the physical aspect is gone. Now you are focusing on the subtle aspect, mind. So that is called Smriti Puri Shuddho. Swarupa Shunya Evartha Arthamatra Nirbhasa Nirvitarka Samapatti. Nirvitarka. So the second level of Samadhi, like I said, Vitarka Vichara, right? So in that he explains that when you physically do that, but you understand everything in the right sense. So when you look at an object in this world, you are seeing that in the right sense. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Dukkhalayam Shashvatam, this world is full of pain. And then we try to find happipiness, right? That's wrong. It's not that you cannot be happy. You can be happy. But the thing is, you should understand the limitations of that happiness. So when I eat gulab jamun, I can eat one, oh, good. Then I eat two, like, ooh. Then I eat the third one, oh, sugar level is high, then I'm intoxicated. But then I'm like overly lusty. So then that is, you have not understood the right meaning. But if you can control with one gulab jamun, or if you can even give it up, no gulab jamun, right? So then you are controlled. So, eta eva savichara nirvichara cha sukshma eva vyakhyata. So, now the next state is at a subtle platform. I'm not just looking things in a gross platform. I'm always thinking in terms of karma. So when I look at something like pandemic, oh, result of bad karma, I don't think, oh, China should not have had that market, this guy should not have had this, but I go to the root cause. I understand, oh, it's bad karma for the whole world, killing so much cows, killing so many animals. So that's why I released that video, astrology, which I shared in our group. So if people are not going to the root cause of animal killing and they want to take a vaccination and they want to relieve this karma, they haven't understood anything. So sukshma vishayatvam, chalanga pariya vasanam. Then your meditation on the on the subtle. So then you are able to see your mind, intelligence, ego. When you understand, when you give up by vichara, give up the body, then you meditate on the mind. So it goes all the way up to pradhana. So for that you have to understand what is pradhana from the Bhagavatam. Taeva sabija samadhi. But still we are using the mind as an object to meditate. So that is sabija. Sabija means there is still an object. Nirvichara vaisharadye adhyatma prakashaha. So the thing is, when the mind becomes the object itself of meditation, when you have no other thought, just you are meditating on your own mind, on the ups and downs of your own mind, you are able to focus, which is a very high state. So then you get into the Ananda Samadhi. Tajya samskara, all the samskaras go away because there is nothing to. So this is like pranayam. So when you do pranayam, then pratyahar. So pranayam, pratyahar, ahar in Ayurveda or yoga is not just food. Ahara is also what you hear. Ahara is also what you see. Ahara is also what what feeds everything. When you pratyahar, when you stop all of this, control the body, control the senses, then what happens? All that is left with you is your remnants of thoughts for a yogi. So that needs to be clear. So he's already given you meditate on the holy name, he's already saying, and that all those channels by pranayam, all those channels get cleared. Now through those channels, you send the Om, right, in your body and meditate on the Lord. All these things become clear. First chapter done. It was 55 sutras I tried to explain. I wanted to do the second chapter also, but so many words are new. So I thought, okay, this is enough for today. So was it interesting?
Yes, I have a question regarding the controlling of the mind. When, for example, you're talking about when you see a cake or something you like and you want it. When do you know that you? Because sometimes if you control in an unnatural way, it can be negative, right? Because you're always thinking about it, and then you cannot do anything else. But then sometimes you think, well, I should just do it so I can think about something else. So when do you know that balance of each person? How do you know if you should give in or you should control it even though it's unnatural? Like, for example, happens to Catholic priests, right? They control they try to control their sex drive, but then negative things happen,
So that is where it comes. Abhyasa vairagabhyam tan nirodha. So your base is your practice and your detachment. So that's a natural thing. For example, let me give so I wanted to do this forward bend, Surya Namaskar, step 2, right? When you forward bend, your hamstrings, you stretch and you touch next to the feet. So now he told me that you don't push yourself too much. When your hamstring is naturally long enough, you will bend naturally, but you have to keep practicing, keep the knees bent, stretch the hamstring, stretch the hamstring, stretch the hamstring. If you maintain it, you will reach that point. So that is natural. So the point is, now your urge or your level of you are weak. So in the weak, you need more strain, more strength to self-control. But as you practice, for example, it's 11:25 for me. So I haven't had anything, food. And then I realized for my own good, I should not eat. I want to eat once. So I drag it to as much to the day. Now this didn't happen overnight. After many a times eating, like there was a joke, and this is a serious joke. What is that? One guy goes to a successful businessman and he asks, what is the secret of your success? He says, right decisions. How do you make right decisions? He says, experience. So how do you gain experience? He says, wrong decisions. Right? So we make mistakes, we learn. So that is why he says smriti. But many times, even with smriti, our practice is not strong enough. So mode of goodness makes things obvious. Okay, how we can start is by engaging in practice rest. Practice rest. So that is why people go to ashram. That's what our Hugo did. He went to the ashram. He practiced. You go to ashram, you practice because you create an environment to practice, right? If you create an environment where you have the cake all the time and you're like, oh my God, I have control. I'm doing yoga all around it. But it's there all the time. Most of the people who join the fasting program, they say, we see the fruit right in front. We are like, right? So I said, don't bring the food. Correct? Don't bring the food. Don't do it. So that is the whole thing, is that create an environment first where you can practice. That should be your focus. Keep your room clean, keep yourself focused. Right? And once you are in that environment, once you become strong enough, when you are taken out of that environment, you are still strong. Right?
This reminds me of our classic analogy in bhakti regarding the bhakti creeper. How when it's first growing in your heart, you have to fence it and make it very safe so that it's not trampled. But then eventually you want to take the fence away so that it can grow fully.
Exactly. So that's the thing. You have to nurture your practice. So when your practice is nurtured, body is nurtured, mind is nurtured, you'll feel the change,
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to know the difference between when you actually like you should go slowly, as you said. For example, when you bend forward, you should go slowly. But sometimes I think the mind plays tricks on you and says, no, you should go slowly. So therefore, give in to, and then when you give in, your addiction gets worse and worse and worse, and then you realize. And I guess that's a part of the mistakes.
So that is why I came up with this meditation practice. So the first, you calm down. So without calming down, you cannot start anything. Ashantasya kutas sukham, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says. To experience sukha, happiness, one has to be peaceful. Correct? Ashantasya kutas sukham. So that is why all practice, first you have to conquer the mind. So that is why meditation is first. Relaxation is first. In our Hare Krishna also, chanting is first. And as you do the higher meditation, you realize, and then you create an environment. One should intelligently. So that is why you follow the guru, you follow the teacher. With guru, we are like, there's an example I need to follow. right? That's how it goes. Okay. All right. Any other comments, questions? Amitaji, did you like it? Was it too much download or so you could understand?
Yes, Hare Krishna. It was really nice. I joined a few minutes late, but I think it was good to connect the dots and more kind of clarity and going deeper into the subject.
Okay,
you.
voice kind of broke up a little.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just saying that thank you. It was good. I joined a little late, but